Hi, this is Mike Ignatoski, the creator of GreenFox, the spreadsheet that uses Excel programming to make it behave like an electronic baseball score sheet or scorebook, and it automatically computes the game stats, which can be a big-time time saver. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you find this video helpful. In today's video, I'd like to talk about one of the new exciting features in GreenFox 2.0, which is historical team season league play. Before version 2.0, GreenFox only had one operating mode for the score sheet, which was free play, as shown up here in this score sheet mode area. Free play means you enter your lineups, score your game, compute your game stats, do whatever you wanted with those stats, and then do it all again. What's new in version 2.0 is that GreenFox has the concept of a league and league play. Down here there's a new tab in version 2.0 called LG Help. It stands for League Help. I'm going to click this League Help, and you'll see it kind of outlines these two new modes of play called league type modes. One, historical team season, or HTS, that deals with replaying the schedule of a specific team for a specific season. An example being the 1984 Detroit Tigers, all 162 or whatever games they had that year. The other league mode that version 2.0 of GreenFox supports is called the Historical League Season, or HLS. And that definition is that it can where you can replay the entire schedule of a specific season. For example, all of 1984. So you can follow either one of these league modes with GreenFox. And in this video, we're going to focus on how to set up or configure the historical team season, or HTS, league mode. One more thing I want to mention before we leave this LG Help screen is that in both of these league modes, HTS and HLS, as stated here at the top, they both track the cumulative stats for all the players and all the teams. So even though HTS is focusing on one team in 1 year, in this case, let's say the 1984 Tigers, it will track all the stats for all the players in all those games, just like it will in HLS, even though you're only focusing on the Tigers' basically schedule. It'll still track the stats for all the players in the opposing teams that they play. So I want to make that clear that in both of these league setups, GreenFox will track all the stats for all the players in all the games. Okay, so back to our configuration. Next step is really our first step here on the league sheet, which is select the league mode. I'm going to click on here on the league mode cell. I get a drop down list. Here are my options. These bottom two don't do anything. We're interested in this historical team season mode, so that's what I'm going to choose. Then it tells me enter the season or year in the yellow year cell, which is right here. I'll say OK. It selects that cell. Then it gives me a little tip there. It says enter the 4-digit year that you want. So I'm going to click in there and enter 1984. And I'm going to hit enter. Now I get this error. It should, if everything worked right, list these teams from 1984, but it doesn't. It gives me this error that says basically I couldn't find this retro sheet that has the data in it, this GF retro blah blah blah, and you can only have one of them open at a time. But we only have one open. It's the 1981, but why didn't it work? So let's go back and look at this retro sheet that we downloaded. Here it is. And what I want to point out is this top line here says this protected view. Now, I don't know if everybody will have this situation, but when you download it, sometimes it default will put it in protected mode or protected view. And what we need to do is undo that. So I want to see if we enable this. I want to see if that fixes it. So I'm going to minimize it. I'm going to go back to the year since it took it away, since it didn't work last time, and try it again. Okay, and now it worked. So you can see we put 1984, it put all the teams from 1984 over here, and then it gave us another little message saying, select your desired team from the list of teams. Okay, so here are all the teams. Here are my beloved Tigers, but let's say I pick the Indians by accident. Then it says, next, click the big purple button to load the retro sheet data for your team. It says, or select a different team. I just want to show you can do that here, because it did put the Indians up here, but I meant to click the Tigers. So I'm going to click the Tigers, and it asks me if I want to overwrite it. I'm going to say yes. Okay, and it tells me the same thing before. So click the big purple button to load the retro sheet data. That's the spreadsheet that we have open. So I'm going to say okay to that. Here's the big purple button. I'm going to click it, and it gives me a little warning saying this could take a minute or two, so be patient and cross your fingers. Hopefully it'll work. I click OK. It's going to do some Excel calisthenics, and hopefully you'll get this message that says success. Historical data has been populated into these worksheets: the league, the MPL, rosters, and the schedule. Just please take a brief look at these to make sure they contain reasonable data. Well, whatever that means. Basically means make sure they're not blank. It says that now you can click the black Validate League Settings button on the league sheet to help guide you through the remaining steps to configure your league. Okay, so you see right now we're looking at the MPL master player list, but I'm going to click OK, and it's going to jump us back to the league. Here's that Validate League button it talked about, but first it said look at these three sheets. So let's look at the schedule. You can see here it says the 1984 Tigers. There's 162 scheduled games. None of them have been played in GreenFox, and and here they are. Each of these cells with a little red triangle has some information there. So this tells you the game type is whether it's a single game or part of a doubleheader, day, night, what park. This game ID, which is unique for every game, but you can see it's something I made up. It is basically the date, the visiting team, the home team, and then what type of game it is, just this number over here. And then it lists the starters. The score is blank because you didn't play the game yet. And then over here, if you scrolled over, you could see all the lineups, who's playing where, and what order, and blah, blah, blah. So that looks good to me. This master player list is just all the players in the league. You'll see this says 935 guys played in the league this year, and they're all here. And one thing I want to mention here is that on the master player list is that each player is only listed once on here, even if they played for multiple teams. As you can see, if they have something in this multi-team list column here, that means like Mike Jorgensen played for the Braves and the Cardinals. Ken Daly played for Braves and the Cardinals, and different players that were traded during the season. But on the master player list, they only appear once. Over here on the rosters, they'll appear on both of those teams. So that's the only really difference. That's the difference between the master player list. Everybody's only listed once, and then on the rosters, each player is on. If they played for multiple teams, they'll be on each team's roster. Okay, I want to mention one other thing here on this master player list is that it shows us this player ID column, which for the most part you can ignore it. It's really what comes from the retro sheet. It's kind of a behind the scenes way to keep track of who's who, but I've created this lineup name which has to be unique for every player in the league. So for 1984, all these are unique for all the players. So you can just focus on what's in this column and not really worry about these player IDs. It also has this primary role, whether they're a hitter or a pitcher. And then these columns are ones that we'll deal with later. So let's get back to what it told us to do on the league sheet. Which, if you recall, it said click the black button. And one thing I want to mention here is that since it was successful loading this data, over here on the status it said data loaded. It also says how many teams are in the league. But you can see here we're going to need to probably fill in these two cells. I'm going to click this validate, and it's going to tell us that. It'll say, hey, invalid league ID. Enter a league ID that's 3 to 10 characters using only alphanumerics, no special characters or spaces or things like that. So here, it's just something that's kind of short so it can show it on the score sheet. So I'm just going to write 84 Tigers. That fits the 3 to 10 characters. And I'll fill in this league thing because I'll just be my 1984 Tiger replay. Okay. So now I'll click the validate again. Anytime you click validate and you get an error message or tells you to go do something, just go try to complete that task and come back and hit validate again, and it'll tell you if something's still wrong or if there's something else you need to fix. It'll guide you through. That's my point. So let's click the validate league settings again. Nice. We have success. League configuration appears to be valid. You may now want to configure the custom info or rating data for your league's players. This is best done from the master player list sheet, and you can enter it at any time or modify it any time during your season. And then it gives you an option of, or you can click the big green activate league play button to get the score sheet ready for league play. So for right now, that's what I'm going to do just so we can see how that works. Click the big green activate league play button, which is up here in the corner. I'm going to say OK. Click the activate league play. It asks me if I want to clear the score sheet. I'm good with that. I don't care what's on the score sheet right now. So yes. So it tells me it's setting the score sheet to league play mode. Now it's getting exciting. Success. League play has been activated. Click the game ID cell to load the lineups for a game. Enjoy the fun. Okay. So just a couple of things here. So now we see the mode now is League HTS instead of free play. We have a couple of new buttons here. This reload league info, which we can talk about later, and the show hide ID column, which here's this ID column that for league play, would have those retro IDs for players that are in the games when it computes the stats. But if you don't want to see it, it's more for, I use it when I was debugging this thing, and I decided to leave it in there just in case I needed to help somebody out or they were having a problem. But for the most part, I think you can click this out to hide the ID just to save you some screen space. The other major thing is this big green button here that says save league game stats and results. And that's what's going to, once you compute your game stats, that's what's going to save them in the spreadsheet for the cumulative stats. Okay, so let's get the lineups ready so we can play a game. So if you recall, it said click on the game ID to load a game. I'll also mention that you can see here it filled in the league ID, the 84 Tigers that we entered, or I entered, back on the league sheet when I was configuring the whole league setup. So let's click the game ID. It'll jump us over to the schedule sheet and tells us to select the game ID of the game we want to play. You don't have to pick the first game, but following the Wizard of Oz, it's good to start at the beginning. So that's what we're going to do. But you can see here,
it says we've right now completed 0 games out of 162. So you can click on other spots here. The row doesn't matter, but you have to click in this game ID column to load the game. So I'm going to click the first game ID, and in the blink of an eye, here we are. Here's the starting lineup for the Tigers, what position they're playing. 10 is DH, and it shows up here. Here's the game ID. You know, here's who's playing who and where the game is. The Twins starting pitcher. Down here for the Twins, they're going up against Jack Morris. So that's really what it takes to configure your league and get started with how to load the lineups.
So now it's just a matter of playing the game and scoring the game as done in earlier versions of GreenFox. Though I will say in GreenFox 2.0 there are some new features that relate to the score sheet, and I would suggest you watch. There's a video that I created that focuses just on the new score sheet features of GreenFox 2.0 to see what those are. Well, that wraps up this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you found it informative and helpful. Please feel free to leave me some comments and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to be alerted when I post new videos. I hope that the GreenFox spreadsheet will save you time in keeping score and doing the game stats of your games, resulting in giving you more time to play the games that you want to play.